So, hello friends, welcome to my YouTube channel. Uh, so today's topic is so before Docker. Okay, before Docker, there is a concept of we should first understand the concept of virtualization. Okay, so what is virtualization? What is the main motto of the virtualization? So by virtualization, we share the hardware. Let's say you have some hardware in the on-premises system. Okay, so you share the hardware of host machine. Okay, so you don't need extra hardware for this. You will just share the hardware of host machine. Okay, uh, so let's draw some picture so that you will be able to better understand. Okay, so let's say this is my on-premises server. Okay, this is my on-premises server, and this is my hardware layer. Okay, hardware. Okay, hardware. So this is my hardware. Okay, and so next layer will be, what will be the next layer? You will be requiring some operating system to host some application, right? So this is my operating system. Okay, so to share this hardware of the host machine, let's say I'm considering it as a data center. Okay, so to host this, so to means to share this hardware, I need some component, right? So what is that component? That is called hypervisor, right? Hypervisor. So what hypervisor will do? It will allow you to create virtual machines. Okay, and when you are creating one virtual machine on top of the this operating system, okay, so you will be again have the hardware. Okay, so you will be having some here hardware first layer. So this is the virtual VM, okay, virtual machine, and this is my data center, let's say. Okay, the host machine you can say. Okay, so what, so where will be this hardware coming from? So this hardware will be coming from the sorry, so this hardware will be coming from the hardware of the host machine. Okay, so this virtual machine will share the hardware of the your host machine. Okay, so let's say if you are, this is your Windows, let's say your host machine is of Windows operating system. Okay, but what if you have some Linux application, you want to download some Linux, you want to download some application that runs on Linux operating system. So how will you achieve this? You have to install virtual machine by with the help of hypervisor, with the help of virtualization. You will be able to install this VM with the Linux operating system. Okay, but don't forget your base system is of Windows. So with the help of virtualization, we can install the Linux virtual machine on top of the Windows host machine. Okay, so let's say here is my app, right? App, let's say it is 100 MB. Okay, so your hardware may be bigger size. Okay, not just 100 MB. You can have, let's say, in the GB space for this host machine, right? Your app may be having less space, so this is uh, maybe having less space. So this is very normal that so this hardware is sharing means you don't need extra space here for this hardware, right? Your host machine has more config than 100 MB, right? And this Linux OS, okay, will also take some space, okay? So let's create one another picture with the help of, okay, so that you will better understand, okay? Mm, So we will consider one uh, with without Docker concept, okay? First we will understand without Docker concept, and then we will without with Docker concept, okay? So this is my, let's say, one EC2, okay? This is my EC2. EC2 is a virtual machine in the cloud provider of the AWS platform, okay? So my first layer will be hardware, okay? Hardware. I'm again drawing this just to understand, better understanding the things. Then our second layer will be operating system, right? OS, okay? And third layer will be hypervisor, okay? So this is my cloud infrastructure, okay? So with the help of virtualization, I will be able to deploy some virtual machine, okay? So this virtual machine is also will be having some hardware also, right? Okay, let's say hardware, okay? And this is OS, okay? And this is my application. Let's say this is my login page, okay? Some login page, okay? Login page app application, login page application, which is of 100 MB, okay? So for this login page, I am having one particular server, one server. What if I have to I will also need the card page, okay? So let's say here it is my login, and here it is my card, okay? So this is my login. This is the login HTML page, right? Which will be redirect into this page, okay? And this will be my cart web page, okay? So here I will be having one another server, okay? So another virtual machine, let's say, okay? Here also we will have some hardware, Okay, and next layer will be OS. Okay, so this OS can be anything, you want. Okay, so here if you are using Ubuntu operating system, you can use also it in Ubuntu. Doesn't matter that Ubuntu should be your underlying infrastructure OS. Okay, so this OS and this OS has nothing to do anything. Okay, so this is my cart page. Okay, cart page application. Okay, so this sorry, so this cart will be redirected to this server. Okay, so here what is happening is this hardware, is sharing the hardware, is taking the hardware from the host machine. So this particular server does not need any additional hardware. Okay, he is capable of, let's say if it is 1 GB, so 1 GB hardware can be available to use this virtual machine. Okay, so this is the concept here in the virtualization. So if you deploy some any application, let's say HTTP, so the size of OS will increase. Means what is happening is in the okay, so this way we will have, okay. So what is the drawback of this architecture now? Okay, so what is the drawback of architecture? Let's say uh, for this server we will also be needing the load balancer here. Okay, load balancer. Okay, this is my load balancer, LB, and I will be also requiring the ASG. What is ASG? ASG is auto scaling group. Okay, so this is my auto scaling group. Okay, same will be requiring here also. Here I will be also requiring some uh, load balancer. Okay, so in this setup, okay, so in this setup we are, means for one application you are requiring the one server. Okay, although you are sharing the hardware of the OS machine, but here the complexity of the network is increasing. If you say, let's say if you, for your login page you are having one server, and for that one server you will be also requiring one load balancer. Okay, and for load balancer you are also requiring one ASG. So this is for one server you are requiring so much hardware for particular server. And let's say for cart server, cart app, cart application, you will be requiring one more server, one more auto scaling group, one more load balancer. So this way your, and what if this way your network hardware is increasing, so much cost is also increasing. Let's say if you have 100 applications, so then you will be requiring 100 servers, you will be requiring 100 auto scaling groups, you will be requiring 100 load balancers. So no one is ready to pay for that much amount. Okay, so there should be, so to provide, okay, so why we will be requiring means to provide HA, to provide, okay, let's see the color, to provide, oh sorry, okay, so to provide high availability, okay, to provide high availability for our apps, we need to create multiple servers. Okay, create multiple servers with the same app by using ASG. ASG is auto scaling group, and we also means we have to redirect the client request to healthy servers by using load balancer, right? So this much hardware is increasing. Okay, this concept is by this is without Docker, I am saying. Okay, without Docker. So separate, this is called monolithic architecture, right? One server, one application, right? So this is monolithic architecture. This will cost you more as your application grows, as your project grows with the time, right? So one feature is enabling, so you have to think about the its hardware every now and then, right? So this is the limitation in terms of virtualization. This is the need for the emerging of the Docker. So what we are doing in the Docker is, let's say if you deploy some sample HTTP. So what is happening in these login page application? You are let's say deploying some sample HTTP application. Okay. So with this, Python is not required for this, right? You just need HTTPD dependencies. Okay. But still the Python package will be coming. Okay. So lot of there is a no there is no need of Python package, right? Unnecessary dependency is there. Okay, so with this, what is happening is my OS size is increases. So default, if you install here the default, let's say Ubuntu image. Okay, if you download the ISO Ubuntu image, that will be of 6 GB. Okay, so in that Ubuntu image, you will have the unnecessary dependencies over there. Let's say your target is deploying the HTTPD, but Python dependency is also including in that, right? And some more other dependencies. This way, your OS is bulkier. Let's say 6 GB OS, right? Ubuntu Linux image size is 5 GB. Okay, and this host machine, okay, this host machine will share only the hardware, okay, not the OS. So not, this is not necessary that the underlying infrastructure OS is your virtual machines OS. This should not be the criteria. Okay, this will means host machine will not share, host machine will share only the hardware, not the OS. So ISO, so this OS, so ISO will be containing OS plus unnecessary dependencies. That's why there is a huge size. Docker says you can customize your package. If you can take any OS, so size is reduced. Okay. In without Docker concept, to deploy 5 application, you need 50 servers, right? Including your AHG, ELB setup and all. Okay. So more infra and more pay, right? So this is, so what Docker says that you customize your application, you customize your package. If you require only HTTPD, take just HTTPD only. No need of taking Python. Okay. So this way your size is reduced in the Docker. Okay. So let's say I will draw some picture with Docker. Okay. Mm, let's create some new. Okay. So let's take, this is my EC2. Okay. sorry, this is my hardware. Okay, hardware. So I'm considering this as a EC2. EC2, you should be know that AWS virtual machine, right? Okay. So what is this? This is a, we are considering it as a cloud hardware, right? Cloud hardware virtualization. Okay. Here is your, sorry, here is your login page. Here is your card page, right? This is login. This is card. Okay. So so this is my EC2, right? EC2 one. Okay. So on EC2, I can install some virtual machine also, right? So this is my, again, let's say hardware. Okay. And this is my OS. Okay. And on top of this OS, I will have the new concept called Docker. Okay. On top of this OS, I will have the Docker installed. Okay. So what this Docker will do, this will allow you to create, okay, this is single server. Okay, this is simple, single EC2. Okay, this is one container and this is another container. Okay, Docker allow is, means this this hardware will be sharing from this. Okay, and now now we will have this hardware also. Okay, so here, okay, so this hardware will be sharing from where? This one, right? So from this particular Docker container, this means this container will be sharing the hardware from this EC2. Okay, hardware, and this is OS. OS. Okay, so here is my login page. Here is my card page. Okay, so if you see, we are in a single server, but but we are having, we are sharing the hardware of the host machine. Here we are sharing the host machine of the EC2, and here also we are sharing the hardware of the, let's say, container, or Docker, let's say Docker VM. Okay, Docker virtual machine. So this is login and this is card. Okay, So this way, uh, my so huh, let's say. So what is happening here is the OS. Okay, so this OS. Okay, so this OS you can customize your way. Okay, means if you need to deploy the application in the HTTPD, you download only the corresponding packages, corresponding dependencies related to the HTTPD only. Okay, so you can deploy my application into one server. Okay, if you install Docker inside EC2 instance, right? Docker will provide the isolated environment. Okay, so this is login, this is card, this is it is providing me the isolated environment to host your applications. Okay, this hardware will be sharing from the EC2 hardware, right? So to run app, I need OS. Okay, so I have to download my your OS from the Docker dependencies. Okay, so there is a one concept called Docker file. Okay, which I will be covering in the next topic. So in that Docker file, you write your OS. Okay, which OS you want. Let's say Ubuntu image. Let's say CentOS, whatever it is. Okay, so you define the OS in that particular Docker file. Okay, and the particular dependencies, what dependencies you require. Okay, so where this Docker is taking the OS from, I will show you. Okay, if you see, okay, if you launch any EC2, okay, so in EC2, if you see, I will show you. Let's say create some test server. Okay, so this is the application and OS images, right? This is the Amazon Linux OS. This is my Ubuntu. Okay, this is the AMI. Okay, T2 micro key pair, and see here is the configure storage. So what is this? This is the default space which is requiring for this particular OS. For this particular any of the OS, if you take Ubuntu, let's say Amazon Linux, so 8 GB will be requiring, right? This is the default space, right? So why, if you install, let's say, if you launch an instance, okay, keep here, let's say test, okay, launch instance, okay, I will show you now. So if you see, I need to connect to this instance, okay, EC2 instance. Let's wait for this connection. Okay, so if you see, here Python case, see, this is the 5 GB, right? This partition, let's say there is 7 GB. Okay, so what comes with this OS is this is the Ubuntu OS, right? Let's say install some. Sorry, install list. Okay, so with this now, there is also install. Let's say Python. Okay, Python 3. Let's say. Okay, so this is okay. So what is here is means the unnecessary dependencies come into the EC2. Okay, so you can customize your applications. Okay, so that you will be having the less means lightweight OS, lightweight containers. Okay, so where does this Docker directly fetches the OS. Okay, this is the Docker Hub. Okay, so we when you install the Docker, no, that time it will fetch. Docker is the repository to provide your own images, right? Own customized images. So if you see in this Docker Hub repository, I will show you the default space which is taken for the EC2 OS, right? EC2 AMI Amazon OS. It is around 8 GB, right? I just show you here. Okay. And when you search for the Ubuntu, let's say, okay, Ubuntu image, okay. So in the tag section, we can see, right? The tag section here, let's say this is the space taken for this Ubuntu. So this is the plain Ubuntu. Okay, there is no any extra dependencies. Okay, it is the blank Ubuntu OS image, right? You can add your own dependencies into that. So 28 MB and where and just compare the size of this 28 MB with the 6 GB of the default OS taken in the EC2. This is the difference. This is why Docker containers are lightweight because this much of the uh, storage is not taking place into the unnecessary into your code, unnecessary your application because that much amount of time it will take to load the content. Okay, so this is the difference. That is why Docker is becoming very famous right nowadays. It is lightweight. Okay, so this is the concept of the Docker. This is the just introduction of the Docker. Okay, in my coming session, I will be focusing more, exploring the more on the Docker. Okay, so with Docker, you can customize your own packages, right? You can take any OS, any your favorite OS. So size is reduced, okay? And with this structure, you are able to save the space also, okay? And this lightweight OS, okay? So you just need to deploy your upload your let's say HTTPD packages if you are considering HTTPD only, right? So no need of downloading any unnecessary Python images, Python, yeah. So you are keeping your isolated environment, right? So this is why Docker is very important. Docker plays very important role in making your application lightweight. Okay. So this is the concept of the Docker introduction. Hope you will hope you like my session. I will be coming more with the upcoming session. Okay. Thank you.